This weekend, Moss Point celebrating its 125th anniversary.
And on this anniversary, I sat down with Mayor Billy Knight to talk about this milestone, and he opened the discussion talking about his vision for the future.
When I ran for the job, I knew the city was in a deficit financially. We do not have the tax structure that most cities have. And it's because of lack of economic development. You know, we don't have any economic development compared to other cities. But there's a lot of potentials that I saw here, and there's still a lot of potential here. You know, downtown, where it used to be City Hall, city retail stores, all that green space was retail stores at one time. That's an opportunity. The waterfront is an opportunity. The Interstate 10, Highway 63 is an opportunity for economic development. So that's where I'm focused on, is trying to get economic development so our city will have a tax structure that will be able to provide the services that our people deserve. Without the money, you can't provide adequate services. And how do you get the money? You get it through economic development. So economic development has been my focus.
Well, your main opportunity zone is around the interstate, north
Absolutely.
of the interstate. There's some building going on there right now.
Right.
How do you continue that growth in that area?
Well, infrastructure. The first thing we've got to do is get infrastructure out there. On I-10, there's no infrastructure on the east side of I-10. That's what we're focused on now, infrastructure. On 63, there's some infrastructure in. We don't have gas going up 63, so we're working on that. And once you get that in, then you can start promoting those areas. And that's what my goal is, to make sure we get the infrastructure in. And once you get infrastructure, then the business is going to come. There's going to be some development up there that I'm not going to have anything to do with. Once you get the infrastructure, the business is going to come, because they want to be a part of that corridor. You know, the businesses want to be where the resources, their best opportunity to make money. And out there on that interstate and 63 corridor, there's the opportunity for any developer to come because of all that traffic that we see every day on I-10 and Highway 63.
So what are the missing pieces of the infrastructure there?
Water, gas, sewage, the basic things that we got to have up there. And that's what we're getting ready to do now on I-10, and like I say, 63 got most of that already up there. But I-10 is the big picture that we got. Things out by the airport. There's a great opportunity out there by the airport, but we don't have gas out there like we should. We don't have the size water lines that we ought to have. So all that needs to be improved, and that's going to develop more, because there's a great opportunities out there.
As far as public safety goes, how do you feel like you're meeting the demands of the people right now? There's been changes there in the last several years. Do you feel like that the people are being adequately served as far as public safety goes?
Absolutely. You know, we got a police chief now that's dedicated, you know, to the job, and you know, we're not quite there as far as our staffing, but we're getting there. You know, we've got men that's now that's going to getting people into the academy. They're getting really certified. We've been hiring people that we've been hiring already are certified, and so, but there's only so many of those out there. So we've got young people coming in that we got to go to the academy to get certified. But that takes time, but we are managing what we have, and the police chief is working real hard to get us where we need to be. And the same thing in the fire department. You know, fire department is pretty stable, don't have the staff we should. All that is retired to resources, you know, and that's why the economic development is so important. That's why I've said that you can't provide services if you don't have the resources. And that's why we got to get more economic development, because we cannot hire the staff in the police and fire that we need because we don't have the resources. But this economic development is going to cause us to be able to do that. That's why it's so important that we get this economic development in here.
And so 125 years, reason to celebrate. The sawmill industry, as I understand, was really a driver for it. Back 125 years ago, that industry was booming here in Moss Point. From your understanding, why did people want to come here at that time? What did the city have to offer? And you were shipping wood around the world at the time, right?
Yeah, it was all about the water. You know, and that water is important now just like it was then, because you had 2 or 3 of them on the water bank here, these lumber yards. Also had pottery right over there where our sawmill landing park is now. So we were known for bottling, pottery, and sawmill, the wood. And so this city was built based on those 2 industries. Then you had international paper come in, and it was all about taking advantage of the water.
for the most part, a lot of those industries went away over time, and that's created challenges for the city. How do you recreate some of that, the history that was so promising at one time?
Well, you know, we have to get more young people, and we want to try to get more people involved, young people in particular, that care about the history and be able to keep this history going, you know, because people obviously are dying out, and that history is going with them. So we got to get more young people involved. And I'm trying to bring back with economic development, we're trying to make sure we keep those kind of things in mind so that we can have some markers in town that would always make people remember what this city used to be, what it was once upon a time, the industry that it was. So we're also part of blues, you know, blues are part of Moss Point. So got a blues marker here that we want to make sure we always continue to emphasize that part of the cultural part of our city. Somebody got to keep this history going, so we want to plant that seed now in a 125-year celebration. We want to plant that seed so that our kids can keep that going.
Yeah, and it creates community pride.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, back in the day, everybody know when Moss Point was really at its peak of pride was back in the day when they was winning football games. You know, the football team really brought this city together. We had so much pride then. So what can we do to bring that back? We're not winning football game, but it got to be something else to bring that back. History could be part of that. So I hope we can do that with this history.
We just talked about sort of the industries that left through the time, natural disasters. You dealt with a tornado.
Right.
People bounce back here pretty well, don't they?
Well, people know how. That's right. People know how to fight. I mean, you know, we are resilient people. I made the statement during that time to you, is that it's unfortunate that we have to have a disaster sometime for people to come together. So why can't we come together like that all the time? You know, we have so much division at times. But when there's a tornado or a hurricane, people forget about their differences for some reason and we come together. Because that's the humanity of people. You know, when other things are going fine, we fight and argue and fight among ourselves. But when there's a crisis, Moss Point always come together and help each other. It always done that, and I believe it always will do that. When we need each other, we show up. I just want us to do that all the time. Most time we do, but sometimes we don't.
All right, Moss Point Mayor Billy Knight, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Hugh.
And Moss Point is celebrating the 125th anniversary with the River Jamboree happening today from noon until 9 tonight. Bill, those state championships look familiar.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I covered three of those actually, and they were in their prime back then. It's good to see remembering that and also celebrating all the great history in Moss Point. That's right.